Jó reggelt kívánok, hogy vagy? Jó? I'm see if I can see if I can get this working. Anyway, good morning. Boy, it didn't take very long. There's already two people watching my morning chat. But start of a start of another day. Hmm, that's good. I use the espresso. This isn't the tea bag coffee, as I call it. I use the little percolator with some coffee for my morning coffee. I just read something on the news that was a little bit. Well, I read a couple things on the news. One is I couldn't go to New Zealand right now if I wanted to. They've locked that country down. They're only letting people in for humanitarian purposes, people, medical, medical people, nurses, doctors, whatever. They're letting in residents. So they're letting residents come in and what have you, but tourists and YouTube vloggers, they're not letting us in. I don't know if that'll change, but as I was just telling my host David, that I've booked a place until April 15th, as it is right now. I booked a home over on the Mornington Peninsula, or in the suburbs of Melbourne, until the 15th of April. And I was telling David that, come the 15th, I'll kind of weigh, whatever options I might have. I said, maybe go to New Zealand, but I don't know that that's going to happen. And, the other option is to stay here. Um, Australia, just like the United States, they have states. So they have Queensland, I guess the Northern Territory, which is Darwin. They have New South Wales, which is what is that? That is Sydney. They've got Victoria, which is right where I'm at, Victoria in Melbourne, and they've got the Central Territory or something like that, the Capital Territory where Canberra is located. Then they have South Australia, and they have West Australia. And I don't know if they have Center Australia. They might, but I'm becoming quite an Aussie. I just got to work on my accent a little bit, and then and then who knows? But come April 15th, I don't know. We will see, as the saying goes. I at that point in time, I don't know that I'd be able to catch a flight back to the United States. Who knows? It's anyone's guess. But hmm, right now it's just business as usual. I'm just sitting here doing my work. I'm going to check out tomorrow. So I booked 4 nights here with David and Maria, and wonderful home. It's been a wonderful visit for me here, and David and Maria are just salt of the earth, genuinely nice people. And I sat down to have dinner with them, each evening that I've been here, and cooked them one of the dinners that we had. Um, but you know where I'm going back tomorrow? Tomorrow I'm going back to Christie's place. Christie's place. Remember Christie's place, the nice little home that's not even 5 minutes from here. And when I left Christie's place on Tuesday, I told the host, I said, I need a place to stay on I need a place to stay on Sunday and or Saturday and Sunday. So maybe don't clean the place. I said, if you don't have any guests coming in this week, don't clean the place. Just leave it just the way it is, and I'll come back. So when you rent a place on Airbnb, they'll charge you the nightly rate, and then they charge you a service fee, and then they charge you so the service fee, I think, goes to Airbnb. So I think Airbnb double ends it. I think they charge the person renting a service fee, and they charge the person renting the home, or the host. I think they charge them a percentage of whatever they rent the home for. So I think they're double ending. But anyway, so Louise, I think is her name. She didn't clean the place. She didn't have you Wi-Fi install. No, there's no Wi-Fi, and I don't think there's really going to be a need for it. I can, for what I need to do, for what I need to do with my purpose. I don't need the high speed Wi-Fi, but just to go back to Christy's place and get out. They say that house guests are like fish; both start to stink after 3 days, and I try to be conscientious of that. I mean, I, 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 I'm sure that Mark and Maria would have me stay another 2 nights if I so wanted to. In fact, they've actually expressed that. But for the same amount of money, I can go down the street and have my own little home and get out of their space and let them get on with their life. But anyway, yesterday was it's my birthday today. It is. Oh, I forgot about that. It's your birthday today. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday from down under. Happy birthday to you. There you go. You got a happy birthday from Australia. Hmm. I'm sure that'll be the highlight of your special day. But I felt like I stole yesterday. Yesterday felt like a day that was Yesterday felt like a day that was stolen. And I say that because, you know, they're likely going to go to a lockdown here in Victoria. Victoria is likely going to up their level to 3 great videos yesterday. Yeah. Victoria is probably going to up their level, and they're going to lock everything down. And, you know, I just woke up yesterday morning. It was early. I looked at the weather. The weather was good. The weather showed, partly clearing. It showed relatively light winds. Um, and then I just kind of looked at the map to see, where were the main attractions on the Great Ocean Road. And the furthest attraction that I would really want to see was about 2 hours and 15 minutes. And I looked at the clock. And it was about 6:37 in the morning. And I thought, I could be out there by 9 o'clock. I could be out to the Great Ocean Road by 9:30. And what I didn't anticipate, I thought that I would be back by noon. I thought 2 hours out, an hour driving down, and then 2 hours back. I thought I'd be back by noon or 1 o'clock or something like that. But I actually didn't get back until dinner time. I got back just in time for shepherd's pie. And Maria's a good cook. So I got back just in time for some shepherd pie. And, all the while that I was out and about yesterday, I found myself just thinking that it was a stolen day. It really was. I mean, for me to sneak in that day and to have the good weather that I did, um, it really was something. And, God willing that I'm still alive and well years from now, and I find myself sitting back in my office in front of my computer and looking up at that big map on the wall. I'll have two memories. I'll have two memories of driving the Great Ocean Road. The first one 5 years ago, and the second one yesterday. And what a special place. That video that I did. I don't know if you noticed this, but right at the end of the video, I put in a section. I put in a section right at the end of the video where I launched the drone. Many thanks and appreciation for sharing your global adventures. The video of the Great Ocean Road were spectacular. Uh, Please keep safe and take care. Thank you. So the the what I lost the Great Ocean Road, and all the area coming in, all the area from the Great Ocean Road back to Melbourne was just stunning countryside. It really was gorgeous. Just so much like so much like California. It felt so much like California, rural California, the rolling hills, the fields of gold, if you will, the brown hills and what have you, and the smattering of dairy farms and cheese farms, and that alpaca farm that I visited was what a special place. I told that guy, I said, boy, I said, you're living my dream. A lot of people say that I'm living their dream. I said, but you're living my dream. You know, I said, you're living my dream. I said, I bet you see beautiful stars. I said, I bet you walk out of your front door at night out into your out into your fields, and I said I bet you see beautiful stars. I bet you see, a starry sky like you see on those postcards or those screensavers, with thousands or millions or billions of stars across the sky. But anyway, but yeah, that was that. So that's about it. The one other thing on my mind is that, it was on my last trip. Hmm, I don't know if I've shared this story with you or not, but it was on my last trip to New Zealand and in Australia about 6 years ago. I was I was I had told a friend of mine. I had told a friend of mine that if you do something 21 days in a row, statistically or psychologically or whatever it is, if you do something 21 days in a row, it becomes a habit. That's how habits are formed. And I don't know where they came up with the number 21, but if you do something 21 days in a row, it becomes a habit. And a friend of mine, the last time I was in New Zealand, a friend of mine wanted to cut back on drinking alcohol. And this friend asked me if I would go 21 days without having a drink. That's what she asked me. She said, would you go 21 days without having a drink with me? And I said, sure. I said, I'll do the 21-day challenge without a drink. I said, but I'm leaving tomorrow. I'm going on a trip to the south, to the South Island. I'm going to go drive around Australia. And she said, yeah, I know. And I woke up the next morning on day one of that 21-day challenge, and off I went. Off I went down to hello. Off I went in my car on day number one of the 21-day challenge of not drinking. And probably toward later that evening, I called my friend on the phone, and I said, "So how you doing with the no drinking challenge?" And she said, "Oh, I had a rough day. I came home. I had a drink." She said, "You did?" She said, I said, you did? I said, you had a drink? And she said, yeah, it was a rough day. I had a drink. So, forget the 21-day challenge. And I said, okay, all right. And I hung up the phone and off I went in the car. And as I drove along, I found myself thinking, I'm going to do the challenge. I'm going to be an example. I'm going to show her that I can go 21 days without a drink. I'm going to be an example for her. And I'm going to come back, in 14 days or whatever it is, and not have had a drink. And I'm going to go the whole 21 days. And that night, I pulled into a sheep farm. If you Google, if you go on YouTube and search in Tom Hall Sheep Farm or something like that, New Zealand, Tom Hall Sheep Farm. That night I pulled in and I was spending 4 or 5 nights with a woman named Fenella, Finella, Fenella. And Fenella hopefully is, but Fenella was a beautiful, beautiful lady, well into her 80s. And she smoked like a chimney, and she drank like a fish. And day one of the 21-day challenge was spent, and day 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 for that matter, were spent on a sheep farm with a lady named Fenella that drank like a fish. And I stuck it out. And somewhere around day 11 or 12, I was driving through some beautiful, beautiful countryside in New Zealand. And I started doing a little soul searching. And I asked myself, what does alcohol do for me? Ultimately, at the end of the day, what does alcohol do for me? Does it do more harm than it does good? And I thought, you know what? At the end of the day, it probably does. It probably does more harm than it does good. And people will say, oh, red wine's good for you. Yeah, they've done studies. Well, grape juice has the same health benefits that red wine does. But and I don't want to have a big debate about the pros and cons of drinking. Some people can drink responsibly, and some people can drink in moderation. I get all that. Okay. Uh, I get accomplishes in this wonderful world. Um, but I drove along and I just found myself thinking, ultimately, does drinking do me more harm than good? And I thought, it probably does. It's just dead calories. It's dead calories. God knows what it does to the liver. You look at people. You get it. As you start to age, or you don't even have to age. You could be a young person looking at old people. But you start to look at people, and you see what effects their vices have on them. And my dad was really a moderate. My dad, I don't know that he smoked. Maybe he smoked a pipe when he was younger. And as far as alcohol, my dad might have an occasional beer, but my dad would open up a beer at 6 o'clock at night, and he'd still have that beer in his hand come 10 o'clock or 11:30 or something like that. But anyway, long story short, I went the better part of, I went 21 days. And during that 21 days, I found myself, coming to the decision that I would just stop drinking alcohol. And, I did. And I haven't had a drink since. And there's times that I miss it. I mean, I like the taste of a good beer. I like the taste of of a nice wine. I love the thought of having a really smooth scotch. I appreciate all that as much as anybody else does. But for me, at the end of the day, I just think that my life is better without all that stuff than it is with it. And that's not to say I don't want to come across as far as being critical of those who you know choose to drink or drink. Make a long story short, is it possible for you to make? No, it's not possible. Not possible for me to make a long story short. I got to fill up 30 minutes. My show is 30 minutes long. And sometimes I just got to babble endlessly so I can get the 30 minutes in. But anyway, the point being is this. As I've been reading up, as I've been reading up on this, as I've been reading up on this virus, as I've been reading up on this virus situation, people touch their face. People touch their face something like, you can Google it. How often do people touch their face? Something like 25 times an hour, I think, is what I read. It could be different, but people touch their face a lot. And in particular, people touch three areas on their face more than anything else. They touch their eyes, they touch their nose, they touch their mouth. And, I'm guilty of that as anybody else. You've seen me, when I do my morning videos, wiping the sleep out of my eyes, and I'll be the first to tell you every now and then my nose will get dry and I'll go like this, or something like that. And, I don't bite my nails or anything. But as you go out and about, you're sitting on a bus or you're doing whatever, or even at your house, look at your spouse, look at your children, look at whoever. Notice how often people touch their face all the time. People touch their face all the time. And I thought to myself, you know what? I've got to do everything I can to ride out this pandemic and give myself the best shot of staying healthy. And as such, I took on a challenge not to touch my face. And I know as I've been doing this video, I've been doing, kind of this, or what have you. But I've taken on the challenge to not touch my nose, my eyes, or my mouth. And I'm in day number 3. I'm in day number 3 of the challenge. Not to do this, not to do this, not to, whatever. I'm in day number 3 of the challenge. And I gotta tell you that so far so good. I went out and I bought this saline nasal spray, and if my nose starts to dry out, or itch or something like that, I just squirt some saline nasal spray in my nose. But that's it. I'm washing my hands all the time. I'm washing my hands 20 seconds uh, all the time. I'm sharing a home with 2 other people right now, and I'm always conscientious of what I touch, what I have touched, what I'm going to touch, and you find a balance between not going crazy doing all this stuff, but being, conscientious of your safety and well-being and the safety and well-being of other people. And anyway, for those of you out there, I'd be curious to know, what how often how often do you touch your face? How often do you touch your nose, your eyes, what have you? And it might be surprised. And those of you watching this video, you're probably going to go through the rest of the day today being a little bit more conscientious about it. And hmm, so we are creatures of habit. And just as you can form bad habits, you can form good habits. And that's the takeaway from today's morning chat is focus on forming good habits and realize that it takes 21 days to form a habit. But that's it. I got a guy, just on a completely other note. I I reached out to one of my neighbors and asked him if he knew somebody that does home watch back where I live in at my home in Fort Myers. And he gave me the name of a guy who does home watch. And I reached out to this guy and I started talking to him. And he's in his early 70s. And I told him who I was and I said, would you be so kind as to, and we went on all the specifics about him watching my house for me. And he charges me $12 a visit. It cost me $12 to have him go over and open up my house and go through my house and what have you. And today he installed timers, lights and all this stuff for me. But as we ended the initial conversation, he said, "Oh, by the way," I said, "Yes." He said, "I loved your dad." He said, "Boy, I loved your dad so much." I said, "You knew my dad?" He said, "Oh, I used to talk to your dad in the library all the time." What a wonderful man he was. And that touched me that my dad touched him in a way that he would think to tell me about that. But anyway, so that's about it for the morning show today. And I think let's see, there was a comment. Is it possible for you to? I'm looking. Somebody. I used to be a big drinker. It usually just made me more depressed. I drink or social, but that's about it. What is the next? Somebody wrote, "What is the next, Mr. Hall, on your checklist of life accomplishments to do or see in this wonderful world?" Uh, Many thanks. When I think about my next accomplishment, you know, my biggest goal in life, to be quite honest with you, my biggest goal in life is to die with a clean conscience. That's that's my biggest goal in life. It's to die with a clean conscience. And as far as travel goes, I thought when I started this trip, this really is going to be, my last big adventure. Um, I've toyed with the idea of going to Patagonia, and doing South America and what have you. But as remote as that is, I may, if I do the Patagonia trip, that's going to be down the line after I retire and internet access isn't important to me and all that type of stuff. But I don't really have, I don't really have any big, goals or accomplishments or destinations in mind as far as, what's next. Like all of you out there, I just want to get through one day at a time. You wake up and you just try to get through the day and lay your head on your pillow at night with a clean conscience and wake up the next morning and do it all again. But I think about getting back home and I I know what you're gonna say, but I think about finding myself a good woman and just you know just you know when to call it quits. You hear that expression, go out on top, go out on top. You know when to call it quits. And when it comes to all the traveling that I've had and the adventures that I've experienced and all that type of stuff, I mean, who could ask for more? And I'm just at a point in time where, boy, if you saw that guy yesterday, Ian, out at the alpaca farm, if you watch that video, that's my dream. That's my dream. And I believe in visualization. I believe that you can visualize your future. And when I close my eyes or when I'm daydreaming, that's what I see. I see myself out in a place like that, living living, having a beautiful garden and just a starry sky at night, and not feeling the need to travel or anything like that. And that's ultimately my dream. But anyway, somebody made a comment about the alcohol thing, and I think that alcohol alcohol is a depressant. It really is. Alcohol is a depressant, and I don't think that a lot of people realize that. But you induce alcohol into your system. It's a depressant, and that's something that I learned a long time ago. The other thing I learned a long time ago is that there's two types of problem drinkers. There are users and abusers. And the abusers are the obvious, but the users are people that use alcohol to self medicate. And, that's, I don't know. Everybody through life, you don't judge people. People go through life and they have different experiences, different challenges. So who am I to say, if somebody is using alcohol to self medicate, or whatever. I have no idea what type of life they've lived. I don't know what type of struggles they've had. I don't know what type of situations they've faced. So who am I to judge people? I don't judge people when it comes to their use of substances. I just know that, for me personally, if I'm going to introduce, I don't want to introduce something into my system that's going to alter my state of consciousness. Anything that, is mind altering, anything that's going to alter my state of consciousness, my sense of self. Uh, I don't want to do that. There were times in the past that I did, but, now, it's not something that I want to do. But anyway, everybody out there have a great day. Okay, I don't know if you noticed this, but on my Great Ocean Great Ocean Drive trip, the very last segment with that car driving down the road, that was me. I launched the drone up over the car, and I programmed the drone to follow the car, and it worked. It worked. So, all right. Anyway, everybody out there, have a have a great day. Take care.